With the third pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the New York Jets select Sam Darnold, quarterback, USC.
So there he is, 20 years old. In other words, almost half the age of Josh McCown, going up the steps and adding his name with Teddy Bridgewater to the Jets draft quarterback room. The third.
So how did we end up here, nearly 3 years later, with Sam Darnold in Carolina Panthers blue? The answer is the perfect storm that only the Jets could produce. I hate this phrase more than anything, but Sam Darnold's tenure with the Jets was the ultimate butt fumble. If we rewind once again to the spring of 2018, previous general manager Mike Maccagnan opted to trade a package of first rounders and more to Indianapolis in order to gain the number 3 overall selection in the NFL Draft, where they eventually selected Sam Darnold. I nearly forgot that the Jets chose to roll with a rookie quarterback over Kirk Cousins that offseason, who earned a massive deal with Minnesota after leaving Washington. In hindsight, I would have made the same set of moves 10 times out of 10 if I were GM of the New York Jets. The issue wasn't the Darnold selection. It was the mindset that finally gaining their franchise quarterback would magically solve all of the Jets' problems. The Jets failed to protect him up front as Sam ran for his life on a weekly basis. The receivers were always bottom tier outside some flashes of Robbie Anderson's potential as he now reunites with Darnold in Carolina. The defense was never good enough to keep Sam's offense from playing desperate catch-up from a deficit, and the kicking game imploded after Jason Myers departed to Seattle. The team was a disaster. But worse than any roster construction was the coaching. The marriage of Darnold and defensive-minded head coach Todd Bowles was extremely bland, and the same could be said about his relationship with former offensive coordinator Jeremy Bates. Then, the Jets infamously hired Adam Gase, the supposed offensive mastermind, to be their next head coach, and work side by side with Darnold to bring him to the next level. Forget about Gase's overall incompetency as a head coach. There's no disputing that because he's currently unemployed. What frustrated me the most was watching the forced marriage between Sam Darnold and Adam Gase. They were never meant for each other, and the Jets absolutely ignored that fact when they hired Gase. The Jets weren't hiring a Hall of Fame head coach here. They absolutely should have looked more into the relationship between their valuable quarterback and head coach, because there wasn't a moment across the entire Gase tenure that I saw real chemistry between the two sides. The quarterback and head coach / offensive coordinator relationship is the most underrated factor for success in the National Football League. Forced marriages rarely work, and this was a crystal clear example. Unfortunately for Joe Douglas, he was basically forced to keep Adam Gase because giving Darnold a third head coach in as many seasons would have been a disaster as well. The Jets were doomed regardless, and Sam Darnold was the unfortunate victim. Luckily, Douglas has learned from the mistake of his current franchise and many others, as he effectively hit the reset button on this offseason by cleaning the coaching staff and opening up a spot for his own rookie quarterback choice at number 2 in the upcoming draft. It is looking like offensive coordinator Mike LaFleur, the brother of Matt LaFleur, who coaches the Green Bay Packers, will be paired with BYU's electric quarterback Zach Wilson, who will fit his scheme like a glove. Douglas also learned that the head coach needs to be a leader of men, and not just a quarterback specialist, which prompted him to make the fantastic hire of Robert Saleh to lead a team of men, and not just one quarterback. To cap off the stories of bad luck, nothing encapsulated Darnold's time in New York more than catching mononucleosis, which has to go down as one of the most bizarre absences in sports history. The focus shifted from Darnold's potential breakout season in 2019 to his odd recovery from a condition that we've never seen a quarterback go down with in NFL history. He played in week 1 around 70% strength, but was out for several weeks and even took more time to get back into game shape. I mean, seriously, what other team and player could this possibly happen to? I'd also be remiss to not remind everyone that this was the first throw of Sam Darnold's NFL career.
And on his first play, they're going to let him roll out and look downfield. The throw back across the field, and it's intercepted. And it's going to be a pick six for Quandre Diggs on the very first play of Sam Darnold's.
Speaking of themes, nothing sums up Sam Darnold's Jets tenure more than excuses. Has it not been the basis of this entire video so far? I will be the first one to admit that fact, and so will most Jets fans and Darnold truthers. While the excuses are absolutely legitimate, his performances in New York were inexcusable, especially this past season where he was basically outplayed by backup quarterback Joe Flacco, who was far from good, but still showed more flashes in limited playing time. Sam did have his highs. He played fantastic down the stretch of his rookie year after returning from injury and finding his groove. He was also fairly solid towards the end of 2019, but a lot of that can be attributed to an easy schedule. But 2020 was an absolute disaster of a season. Sam Darnold was simply dreadful. Admitting that Sam was a failed experiment was a tough pill to swallow for Jets fans. But instead of bashing Jets fans even more into the ground, remember that Jets fans have been starving for a solid quarterback since the days of Joe Namath, who, side note, is one of the most overrated quarterbacks in NFL history. Jets fans are sick of the constant cycle of hope and failure. In other words, have some sympathy for Jets fans. Shifting gears to the trade, I absolutely love this move for Carolina. Sam Darnold is still 23 years old. That is younger than Joe Burrow, for reference. The draft capital was extremely reasonable for both sides and will look like an absolute bargain if Matt Rule and Joe Brady can figure out how to revive Darnold's career and unleash his great potential. Personally, I think this is going to work out very well for Carolina. If Sam Darnold is able to press his own reset button, I have faith that he will figure it out. The majority of his mistakes came from bonehead throws off his back foot, which is an extremely correctable aspect of his game, especially if they are able to calm his game down and let Sam do his thing. His failures were mental, clearly not physical, because we have seen some unbelievable throws from the dude since his days back at USC. This isn't Dwayne Haskins or Jamarcus Russell who we are dealing with here. Taking a chance on Sam is a much better move than another season of the NFL's most boring quarterback, Teddy Bridgewater, who is shaping up to be a career-long bridge quarterback. And for the Jets, this move was necessary for so many reasons. First and foremost, dealing with the distracting quarterback controversy. If they kept Sam and drafted a rookie quarterback, would have been a terrible idea for first-time head coach Robert Saleh, especially with the New York media all over that story. Both sides need a reset move more than anything. And I truly believe that the Jets organization and fans want to see Sam Darnold succeed. New York was unfortunately not the ideal spot for Sam Darnold, and instead of forcing the relationship once again, it is time to move on. The pressure now shifts to general manager Joe Douglas, as his career depends on the anticipated rebuild of this Jets roster and the success of his new quarterback. On behalf of all Jets fans, Sam, let's just be friends. For more creative, informative, and high-quality sports content, make sure to follow Phenom on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter, as well as all of the Phenom podcast channels for each sport. The link tree in the episode description includes a direct link to all of the aforementioned platforms, so click on that to access everything. Phenom boasts a team of over 100 youth contributors from around the world, covering every sport on every media platform. If you are interested in potentially joining the Phenom team as a writer or content creator, send an email to cole@phenommedia.net showing your interest. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe so we can grow the channel. We really appreciate it. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.